Hey, it's Russ from the Infectious Groove podcast and Vinyl channel. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that can be divisive, and that is blind buys. I'm going to share some of my favorite blind buys and times that it's definitely worked out for me, coming right up. Thanks for clicking on the video. Hopefully you're already subscribed to the channel. If you're not, please hit the red subscribe button below. You can also join our Facebook vinyl group, Infectious Groove Vinyl. Or if you don't want to do either of those things, if you just leave a comment below, join in the conversation, maybe drop a like on the video, I would totally appreciate that. Today's topic is blind buys. Now, I have had blind buys work out way more often than not for me. What do I mean by blind buys? I assume probably a couple of different people have a couple of different ideas when they say blind buy. For me, it doesn't have to be a new artist to me. It doesn't have to be an artist I've never ever heard of or never heard anything by, just maybe a release by them that I have heard nothing off of. That's what I consider to be a blind buy. More often than not, what I will do for blind buys is if someone comes over, I've mentioned on the channel several times, we have people over every single Friday to spin records, and a lot of people have gone and brought records over from artists that I've never heard before, so I end up going to buy those. But a lot of times people might even just talk to me about an artist and I think, okay, I'm gonna go check that out. Like, we don't have the record handy, they didn't bring it with them. So for me, I really can't think of the last time I had a blind buy that I didn't like, but I do know that it has happened a few times in the past. I've bought an LP based on a recommendation, ended up not thinking it was the greatest thing ever, but I usually, in those cases, I'll usually trade them at the local record stores towards something or ask around and see if friends might like it and then move it on to them so that someone is enjoying that LP. The ones that I'm going to feature today are ones that for me were either turned on, I got turned on to them by someone talking to me about the artist, and I just thought, well, that sounds great, I'm going to go buy this, and then it ended up being great. Or they are artists who I knew previously, and for one reason or another just wasn't interested in picking up a new one, and then I ended up blind buying it, and I'll get into that now. So the first one that I'm going to share with you is an artist called Broken Bells. Now, this band I knew nothing about, had a friend come over for one of our music nights, kind of described it to me. I would call this Gorillaz-esque. There's flashes of the Bee Gees in there. Just fantastic, cooled out, I wouldn't call it rock, but definitely with a dance flair to it. If you know the Gorillaz, and of course I assume if you're watching this you know the Bee Gees, think of those two bands together, and that's what I feel this record sounds like. So the person that turned me onto it was describing it in that way and didn't have the LP with them that night, and I thought, well, I'm in. That everything you just said is something that I want to be a part of. So I went and bought the LP, and it sounds exactly like it was described to me. If you are not looking to blind buy something and you just want to try it out, there's a song called Holding On for Life on here that I would tell you to start there. And if you like that, then just go ahead and buy the rest of the record. This next one is going to be an artist that you're going to say, well, what do you mean you blind bought one of her albums? Because everyone knows of this artist, and that is The Meaning of Life by Kelly Clarkson. Yes, I know. Everyone knows who Kelly Clarkson is. Most people have heard almost everything that she's done. She usually, every 2 or 3 years, has a big, huge hit. Typical pop artist, got her start on American Idol. We all know those things. But when she first came off of American Idol, I loved her first 2 albums. And then from there, for me, she became one of those artists where I would buy the next LP or CD and just end up liking 1 or 2 songs, and the value proposition wasn't there. I would just end up going, I can't keep buying albums and have them be just 1 or 2 songs that I like for my $10, $15, $20. I happened to be in the local record store, had no idea this album was even coming out. As of the shooting of this video, this is her latest effort, Meaning of Life. Had no idea that this album was even coming out, hadn't heard a single, nothing. And I literally picked it up off the shelf and said out loud, all right, I'm going to give you one more try, Kelly. And I'm so glad that I did. This is, in my opinion, hands down, the best album that she's ever made. Again, this is as of the shooting of this video. I sometimes shoot videos weeks or even months in advance, and I do know she has a new album in the works. So this may be her second to latest album by the time this video comes out. But every song on this album, save for one, there's one that I don't like all that much, but many of my friends do. It's just a song that doesn't hit me well. But everything on this record, other than that song, Move You, I Don't Think About You, Love So Soft, run the gamut of styles that she's done in the past, and it has a sincerity and a songwriting level from the songwriters she either worked with or wrote for her on this record that is just not to be found on any record previous to this. If you like her first two LPs, Breakaway and Thankful, flip-flop that, Thankful and Breakaway, then I think not only will you like this album, you'll love it. And that worked out great for me in a blind buy. Next two are more or less indie artists that I heard. This particular artist here, Parker Millsap, I had heard some songs off of his first album, which was really country bluegrass-ish, which I liked. A friend of mine turned me on to those songs, and I didn't buy that the record before this. And again, same thing. I was in the record store. I was actually in the record store to buy the sophomore LP from Leon Bridges, and this was sitting next to it. And I texted the friend who had told me about Parker Millsap and said, "Did you know he has a new album out today?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, I think I'm going to blind buy it and see how it goes." I absolutely adore every song on this record. This is his major label sophomore LP, other arrangements. I adore every single song on this record. When I brought it home, dropped the needle, it kicks off with a song called Fine Line, which if you like a Jack White Lazaretto type feel, it's that kind of garage rock, but with fiddles and everything involved. It's just fantastic. The songwriting on this, the lyrics are fantastic. All the players on the record are great. So that worked out wonderfully for me, an artist who I'd heard a couple of songs by, but blind bought the second album, and now I've sold it to as many people as I can. I constantly tell people to check out that record. This next one is another indie artist out of Nashville. This one comes with a quick but cool story. This is a bluegrass Americana outfit called the Lone Bellow. They are on album number 4 with number 5 coming very soon, but this is their debut LP. And I was in a different local record store flipping through the new releases 8 or 9 years ago when this LP came out, and I just saw the cover. I had no idea who they were, hadn't heard of them at all. And flipping, and I saw it, and then my friend sent me a text literally while I was standing at the new release bin. Says, "You ever hear of a band called the Lone Bellow?" I said, "Not until 5 seconds ago. I just literally just saw their LP. What's the deal?" She said, one of their songs came up on Amazon or Spreaker or Spotify as a suggested song. I said, "Oh, well, is it good enough to buy the album?" She's like, "Yeah, probably. I think so." Bought this album and absolutely loved it, and have had a complete love of everything that the Lone Bellow have done since this. It's been awesome to see their career progress. But this record is Americana, bluegrass, a lot of country thrown in, fantastic 3-part harmonies across the entire record. Each of the members of the band sing lead on different tracks, but the harmonies are always there. So if you like that type of music and you haven't heard the Lone Bellow, you start here, their second one, their third one, and just run, and you'd be happy. Fantastic blind buy. I've blind bought a lot of other records in the past, but I'm going to round this out with one that was another one that came from a discussion we had here, people hanging out listening to music, and that is the band Tame Impala. Someone actually went through my record bins, came back and said, "Oh, I can't believe you don't have any Tame Impala." And at the time, Tame Impala only had this and their second LP out. Now they've put, I think, 4 or 5 more out. And I said, "Oh, well, who is this? What do I need to know about Tame Impala?" And he told me a little bit of the background, that they're from Australia, parts of electronica, parts of garage rock. Again, much like the Broken Bells, all literal music to my ears. He didn't have the LP with him at the time. I don't even think we could Bluetooth. So I said, "Okay, well, based on what I know of you and the way you describe this music, I'm going to go blind buy that." So I went and bought their first LP, and have since bought everything that's come out. I love the evolution I've heard in their music. Love all the different genres that get mixed together, and it's just fantastic. I know there's a lot of opinions out there on their later material. Some people like the direction they've gone, some people don't. they've done a little bit of everything, but this debut is the one that made me go, oh, well, not only am I thankful that I know about that now, I'm happy I bought it, and I'm excited to watch this artist grow. So that is a little bit of mine. I'm certain in these bins I've got a bunch more blind buys, but I thought it'd be fun to start off the topic and the discussion with these. As always, I love to see your comments below. Tell me about some of your blind buys. Again, doesn't have to be something you'd never heard before or an indie artist or anything. You know, if you'd always heard about Goodbye Yellow Brick Road but never heard it and you blind bought it, tell me about that. Or Dark Side of the Moon even, or, you know, Thriller. I just love hearing everybody else's stories. As I always say at the end of these videos, make sure to subscribe if you haven't, but most of all, thanks for watching.